So he's asking investors to be patient for some of the lamer apps, for WhatsApp and for Messenger, right?
Right. I mean, he spent a lot of money on some of these acquisitions over the last couple of years, most notably $22 billion for WhatsApp and $1 billion for Instagram and so on. So I think at some point, and I think investors are saying, listen, we need to see some revenue coming out of these acquisitions. We need to see some return on investment. And his response yesterday was very clear. Be patient. We're all about growing our user base, building the experience, letting the revenue come organically before we really start trying to, monetize this user base.
Are we any closer to understanding why he thought WhatsApp was worth $19 billion when he's really switching everyone over to Messenger? I mean, I used to use WhatsApp before he...
using Bloomberg. I mean, excuse me. Everyone's using Bloomberg Messenger. Whoop! No one's using Facebook Messenger in lieu of WhatsApp.
I do. I used WhatsApp all the time before Zuckerberg bought it, and then he made Messenger a separate app on the phone, and now I use Messenger and with all of my European friends, and so does everyone else. We don't use WhatsApp anymore.
WhatsApp still has huge usage, over 800 million users. I think what they're saying about WhatsApp is, listen, we need to build these environments that are 1 billion plus users, not the 300 million that Twitter has, for example, but 1 billion plus. That's when you get scale. That's when advertisers really start to, pay attention. And that's where perhaps you can drive some e-commerce. So there's a whole host of revenue opportunities that they see. But it seems to Mark Zuckerberg that billion user number is the big number. And I think if you look at just the core Facebook business, 39% revenue growth on a huge company already, he's probably onto something.
Isn't his volume in terms of users sort of his secret sauce, in that whatever Facebook does, whatever Twitter does, even if I don't like it, I still stay with it? I remember when I was first kind of being forced into using Messenger, I denied it until I would see that I had all those friends who wanted to say something to me, and I'd be like, yes, I'll accept. And we all end up accepting in the end. So Mark Zuckerberg tells us what to do, and we do it.
Well, in the social media world, it looks like, particularly if you look at mobile advertising, it's really become a world of haves and have-nots. And the two players that are just dominating mobile advertising are Google and Facebook. Together, they have almost half the overall global mobile ad spending. And then, the third and fourth players are much, much smaller. So I think Mark Zuckerberg is onto something. He recognizes that it's all about scale in this early stage. It looks a little bit like a kind of a grab for market share here. So, but it seems like Google and Facebook have clearly cornered the market in terms of those billion user platforms which drive revenue.
Do we all just keep saying yes, though, simply because everything is free?
I think as long as the advertisers continue to support it, absolutely. And then, what we're really seeing, what the TV companies are starting to see just over the last few quarters, is that for the first time, the television networks are losing advertising share to the internet, including the big social media sites like Facebook. So, again, that's where the ad dollars are going. As long as that's the case, I think you're going to see more multi-billion-dollar acquisitions.
It's hard to bet against it. When if you're an advertiser, the amount of data you can get back, you can really understand the impact of the ads you're putting on the likes of Facebook or Insta, much more than a billboard on the West Side Highway. You start to migrate.
That's true, particularly as you go mobile, because when you're a mobile advertiser and you're targeting people on the move, you learn a lot of information. Geo-targeting, for example, where are people walking by my store? Bam, I'm going to hit them with an ad. So it starts to get very interesting very quickly, and advertisers are finally really starting to get the sense of the value of not only just internet advertising. That's already been, I think, well defined and established. Now it's about mobile. So every internet company you see this quarter and over the last several quarters, they lead every conference call with, this is our mobile strategy. This is how our growth is growing on mobile, because everybody knows that's where the future of ad spending is on the internet.
I want to ask you about, speaking of dominating globally, Jeremy Clarkson and his Top Gear team may not be terribly familiar to many Americans, but 350 million people tuned in to watch their show every week. He was fired by the BBC for a tussle with the producer, but also he had done a number of jerky things before on air. That's kind of why he's popular. Now Amazon has picked him up. I mean, what an incredible coup. What is this going to do for them?
You know what? Wait, before you even talk about it, think about when you watch this.
Yeah.
You're never watching it. You don't watch it on traditional TV, and you're not watching the advertisement. So I just want to tie this back to Facebook.
Well, I do watch it on BBC America on my Verizon Fios.
And you're watching it real time, or you're fast-forwarding through the commercials?
Right.
I mean, when I was watching Family Ties and Growing Pains and The Muppet Show, I watched those Fisher-Price ads because I had no other choice. It was part of the entertainment. I can't even remember the last time I watched a TV commercial, except, of course, those that are on Bloomberg between our shows.
But Stephanie... Yeah, stay in school. Yeah. But Stephanie, you could, look, Amazon Prime can draw in another 350 million users. I mean, they don't even need to show commercials, at least for a while, right? I mean,
no, Amazon doesn't, but this is a huge coup for, the Amazon, not just Amazon, but it just kind of goes to the whole over-the-top new TV networks that we're seeing out there. This did not go to ABC, CBS, or Fox. It did not go to HBO. It did not go to the traditional media outlets here in the United States. It went to an over-the-top...
Didn't go to Netflix.
It didn't go to
everyone
Netflix.
Thought it was going to go to Netflix.
Right. And there were everybody I just mentioned was all interested in it. Many of them were probably bidding on this. So very high-profile property.
Because if you're this guy, traditionally, if you had a product, if you had a show and you wanted to put it out there, you needed that big platform to be your amplifier. Why on earth would he do a deal with the devil and say, please, traditional network, can you help me get an audience? He has the audience. He gets to keep the dough. I'm with him.
That's right. I mean, he's one of those rare... I mean, I think this franchise is one of those rare global franchises. There aren't many of them, and thanks to the BBC for building him up and creating that franchise, he now has the ability to walk across the street or across the pond and get a huge bucket of cash that, will stay with him and his production company.
Yeah, there's Formula One, there's World Cup Soccer, and there's Top Gear, right?
I can think of shows I watched 10 or 15 years ago. I can remember what day, what network, what time they were on. Right now, tell me, what's on TV on a Wednesday night?
No idea.
Done.
No idea.
No.
I only know Sunday night viewing.
Yeah, time-shifted viewing. It started 20 years ago with the VCR and then TiVo, and now when you have, this internet delivery of content, even CBS, even Nickelodeon, they're putting their content direct to consumers over the internet. So breaking down that core bundle of pay TV that we all grew up with and that everybody in Hollywood made money with.
Even 5 years ago, I could say Wednesday nights, NBC, Law & Order, the traditional one, 10 p.m. Now, it's syndicated. I'm pretty sure Law & Order is on 17 channels all day long.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
No, I mean, look, ever since HBO made HBO Go on Apple TV, I have not watched cable